this lab requires us using some hot plates, so there are some safety precautions. First of all, remove all loose clothing. Big baggy scarves are not a good idea. Next, make sure that you don't have any loose jewelry on, okay, or necklaces. Next, if you are a girl with long hair or a guy, make sure that you put your hair up away from your face so that you don't burn it off and become bald. All right, ladies and gents, in this room, when you're using the lab, you need to remember that group A is now group number 1. Group B is now group 2. Group C is now group 3, and so on. Hopefully you can figure out the rest. Once you are at your station, here's what you should find. First, there should be a hot plate. This is something you have to be very careful of. Hot plates get hot. There should also be a pan with some water in it. You'll also find a cup with some extra water in it. This is for later. You should also find a piece of egg carton that was already sprayed with Pam, so that should be taken care of for you. There should be 2 plastic knives there. That's for when you're kind of mixing up your crayons. You'll need a marker to do labeling. Over here, you're going to need your color sheet from the Rainbow of Colors lab. Remember that you should have already picked out 2 colors to do. For example, maybe you've chosen to do teal and orange. You should also have 4 plastic cups. These are what you will be mixing your crayons up in. And so there it is, lab station. After you've made sure you have the correct supplies at your station, you need to turn on your hot plate so that the water can start getting warm. To do that, you'll need to first plug it in, and of course at the end of the lesson, we will be unplugging it. So plug it in right here. Then make sure your hot plate is on low. Do not turn it on any higher than that because it will mess up your results. All right, when your group is called, you're going to send one group member up to grab your wax. In the bucket, you're going to need to get 2 of the soy wax, they look like ice cubes, and 2 of the paraffin wax. These you then take back to your station. When called, a second person will come up to get the dye chips. The dye chips will be in these cups, and you'll have to use your lab Rainbow of Colors to help you choose which dye chips you need. For example, if you were doing this group did purple here, you would need to get 1 part red, 2 parts white, and 1 part blue. That would mean you need to get 1 part red. This is 1 part, okay, 2 parts white, and 1 part blue. Then you would take those pieces of dye back to your station. This lab can get confusing with all the different materials that we have. So in order to keep it organized, we're going to want to do some labeling. Now because you're going to be creating 2 soy crayons, you're going to want 2 containers labeled soy. Okay. That's going to be, in our case, one of those is going to end up being a purple, the other one an orange. And the same with paraffin. 1 paraffin for the purple, and 1 paraffin for the soy. All right, so it's time to start creating one of our crayons. Essentially, we will be completing 4 crayons when we're all done. I'm going to start here with soy. The first crayon here, I'm going to put the soy in there, as well as the colored chips for that one. I place them all into the container and then carefully put it in the water. Now remember, this is hot. Do not touch the pan. This is going to take some time to melt. I'm also going to do the same thing for the other 3 crayons. As your wax and colors start to melt, you want to make sure that you are kind of stirring them with the plastic knife, and before you put the knife into another container, wipe it off so that it's clean. You don't want to mix colors or wax types as you do this. It should start to melt fairly quickly. The wax will take a little bit longer because it's in large chunks, but be patient and just keep stirring. While you are stirring and kind of mixing this up, make sure that none of this water gets into your cup for some reason. That can ruin the crayon. Once your pieces of wax have been all melted down and it's all liquid, the next step is to take them carefully out of the water and over to your egg carton and pour them into the appropriate containers. Make sure that you're pouring the soy wax into the part marked soy and the paraffin wax into the part marked paraffin. You are going to have to be extra careful that you don't overflow it, so pouring very carefully is a must. Make sure that you don't get any water into the wax as you're pouring. Again, getting water mixed in will mess up the crayon. It will change its texture and could change the color as well. Once all of your wax has been poured in and you have 4 separate crayons going on, make sure that you let it just sit for a few minutes. See how it's kind of liquidy? Let it sit for a few minutes so that it can start to solidify somewhat. That'll make it easier for the next step. Once your crayons have solidified a little bit so that they're not completely liquid anymore, carefully, and I mean carefully, pick up the container. Alright, opening the fridge. There should be some space in here. Looks like the top shelf is pretty open. I'm going to take my wax here. Hey, fridge closed. And put my crayons right in there. And now we wait for the next class. When you are done, first thing you want to do is turn your hot plate off and unplug it. We want this unplugged. Next, you're going to very carefully remove the cups from the hot plate and let them just kind of cool. They won't be that hot, but just kind of let them cool for a second, sitting on the side. In the meantime, you can grab some paper towels, wipe off the counters as best you can if you have any water spillage. If you notice that the water is low in your pan up here, that's why you have extra water on hand in the cup. Just kind of pour it in there. You want it to be about the level it was when you came in. So that, in short, guys and girls, you want the lab to look as beautiful as it was when you walked in, so that the next class can come in and do their experiment right away without having to clean up after you first. All right, once these have cooled a little bit, what you're going to do is take them up here. This is very complicated, I know, so stay with me. And this thing is called a trash can. Boom, right inside. And that's it. That's all there is to do with cleanup.